Hey guys, I'm Savannah from Hey Wonder, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use the Lightroom mobile app on your phone. The first thing you need to do is obviously download the Lightroom app. We're just assuming that you've already done that, so we're going to go ahead and open it up. When you open it up, you should have a screen like this. In the bottom right corner right here, there are two buttons. One is a picture of a camera and one is a picture of a picture and a plus sign. So the plus sign, you would click that if you want to import a photo that you've already taken. The camera, you click on it and you can take a picture in Lightroom. I never do that. So the first thing we need to do is import a photo. So I'm going to go ahead and click that plus sign, and then my camera roll pops up, and I'm just going to scroll through and find a photo that I want to edit. So I click it and you'll click the check mark. Mine has a cloud and a check mark, which means that my photo is in my iCloud right now, so I am importing it from there. Also, you can sync your Lightroom mobile app to your Lightroom app on your computer. I just realized that mine was doing that, but I don't like to do that because I don't want to have a million photos on my Lightroom app. Here in my Lightroom app on my computer, I have a ton of them, and I just don't want that many on my phone. It makes the app go slower, which it's doing right now. All right, so once you have the photo imported into your Lightroom, we're just going to go through what these things on the bottom even mean. So we're going to just do the basic things. So we're going to skip over a lot of the things like selective and healing. We will come back to crop if you need that. So the first thing we need to talk about is light. So if you click on the light, it pulls up a little box, and each of them pulls up a little box. And we've got things like exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, whites, blacks. And then in the top right corner is curve. So let's just go ahead and say that that is not a basic thing you need to know how to do in Lightroom. That would be like, once you get really comfortable, that'd be the next step. So we're going to not do that, and we're just going to worry about the other things. So when I'm looking at this photo, it's actually pretty fine. Light-wise, it needs a lot of contrast, so, and I can just tell when you look at it, everything's kind of dull, and contrast is just going to make the shadows and things pop. So let's just go ahead and add some contrast, and you can see if you push it all the way to the right what it does, and all the way to the left what it does. And I'm just going to settle somewhere in here. And this is a great thing to do to any photo. It just really changes the photo just by doing that one thing. So another thing on your Lightroom app, when you have your photo edited in any way, you can hold the photo down and it'll show you what the photo looked like before you changed anything. So when you lift up, it's what is edited. So press down, it's the original photo. Lift up, that's what you've edited. So before, after, before, after. So we can refer back to that over your whole editing process. I do that multiple times to see kind of like if what I'm doing even looks better. So I've done the contrast. Then I'm just going to show you what changing shadows and highlights does, because that's actually really great. When you don't have a photo like this that's in direct sunlight, you're probably not going to need to use this as much, but let's just look at what it does anyway. So when you have a lot of shadows, you can pull it up and you can see that like the things that are literally shadows, so like anything that looks black, or even on the leaves where it's dark green in my photo, it's going to raise that stuff up. So it actually does look a little bit nicer with that done. So I'm going to leave it pretty high up. And then just to show you what the highlights does, let's pull the highlights down. Usually you're not pulling the highlights up, you're pulling the highlights down and you pull the shadows up. Every now and then you might want to do the opposite, but usually that's not the thing you're doing. So for highlight, This is going to bring down like my hat, the sand, my hair, anything that's white or the lightest version of its color, it's going to bring that down. So I actually like it pulled down a little bit. So that's what we've done in light, and those are probably the only things you'll want to do. Exposure is a really big one, but if your photo's in great exposure, you're not going to want to use that. But you can look at it a lot of times. Sometimes you want to make it brighter, or maybe it's overexposed because you were on the beach. I'm actually going to lighten it a little bit. I like that. All right, click the photo to get rid of that light thing, the little box that popped up, and then we're just going to click the photo with your finger to see what the before and after looks like right now. So already just with the light section, we've made the photo look a lot better, in my opinion. So let's go back down and look at something else that is something that you'll want to learn, that is basically the basis of all presets and Lightroom editing, and that is color. When you click on the color, you can see temperature, tint, vibrant, saturation. And then in the top left corner is black and white. If you click on that, you just see it turn to black and white. And top right corner is mix. And we're actually going to start with mix. That is the most important part. So the thing that you're going to need to do when you're editing in Lightroom is to get really good at picking out colors in your photo. You really need to see color well, because what you can do, like this photo is very blue, so what you can do, you could pull the saturation down of that blue, because if you think it's too blue, or maybe you think that the blue is not blue enough, or maybe the blue is like a royal blue, but really it looked more turquoise in person and you want to add that back in the photo. You can do all of that in the mix section of the color. So I have the mix pulled up, and since this picture is very blue, we're going to start with the blue color. So you can see that there's a turquoise and a blue. Let's just click on the blue, and then you see you have hue, saturation, and luminance. So hue changes the color. When you look at it on the little slider, the left side is more turquoise and the right side is more purple. So that means you can make it a more turquoisey blue or a purpley blue. So swipe to the left and you can see how turquoise the picture gets. Swipe all the way to the right, you can see how purple the picture gets. I'm thinking I would like to add a little turquoise in. So I'm just going to slide it a little bit to the left until I think it looks good. And then the saturation is just how intense that color is. So if you take the slider all the way to the right, you can see, whoa, lots of blue happening there, like not in a good way. And then all the way to the left, it basically makes the blue a gray color if you take it all the way out. Now, I think this could use a little saturation because the water in the sky is basically the main part of the photo, so I'm going to pull that up a little bit. And then the luminance. The luminance is how bright that color is, so how much light is in that color. Let's slide it all the way to the right, and you can see how light the color is. It's, the lightest version of blue as possible. And then if you go all the way to the right, it's a scary looking sky that's going on. So that's just to show you what you can do with that. You're probably never going to bring the luminance all the way down unless, it is possible, but with the sky, you're probably never going to do that. I think I'm going to keep the luminance where it is. Okay, and so let's click done, close this out. You can close that little square out by clicking color, and then the picture's just pulled up, and let's just see what the before and the after looks like. Since I've messed with the shadows and highlights and the colors, I have noticed now that the contrast isn't dark enough again. So I'm just going to go back to the light and pull the contrast up a little more. Okay, another thing that I personally like to use in Lightroom, there's a lot of things that I'm not going to cover all of them right now, but the detail, I really like pulling the sharpness up. We really like crisp, clear photos. Some people don't really care about that or don't. They like a softer look, and that's okay. If you like the crisp photos, you might just want to pull the sharpening slider up a tiny bit. And there we go. And then you've got things like geometry, which is kind of just making your photo look straight and not warped. I'm probably going to do a whole other video on that because that's basically a whole monster of its own. And then cropping, cropping is just cropping the photo down if you have something in it that you don't want to be in there and you want to crop out. This photo is actually cropped exactly like I want it, so I'm not actually going to do anything there. And then also when you slide all the way to the right, you can see that there's a presets section. That's where you would go to install our presets. We have a whole video on exactly how you do that. And then you also see previous, which means if you just want to undo what you just did, you click on that. And then reset, you can click that and it'll take everything away that you've edited. If you're just like, I messed this up and need to start over, press reset. I'm not going to do that because I do like the way this is edited. And that's it. There are a lot of things you can do with Lightroom, but these are just the basic things that you need to know how to do in order to use it to its fullest potential. Lightroom is my favorite way to edit because you have control over every little detail, every little color, sharpness, straightening, just basically every little thing you can think of in your photo, you have control over when you're using the Lightroom app. So once you have a photo that you really like, you can just click this little button in the top right corner that is like a rectangle with an arrow pointing up. Click that and just click save to camera roll. I usually always save it small or as maximum available because I want my picture quality to always be really great. But you can save it to whatever you want. You just save it and it says one photo successfully saved to Lightroom album. Okay guys, that's how you use the Lightroom app on your phone. It's fairly simple. You just need to practice working with the light and the color over and over again because the more comfortable you get with light and color in your photos, the better you'll be able to edit them in the Lightroom app. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. Don't forget to subscribe. We'd love to have you stick around. We have plenty more videos about Lightroom and iPhone photography and editing and presets and all that. So subscribe, like this video, leave us a comment. Come follow us on Instagram at HeyWanderer, and we'll see you next time.